Hey everybody, it's Jason from the Texas Gun Vault 2, and I'm coming to you today with a lot because we have some more first impressions, we have an upcoming projects video, and we also have, I guess, a garage gun talk because I need to ask your opinions on something regarding some future content that I'm thinking about making, and I'm not really sure whether to place it on the main channel or this channel. And I also want some of your thoughts and insights on the topic to help me kind of decide how I would structure the video. But let's start with the guns first. And I know my friend Richard is going to get on my case. I do have to always give the caveat. This is my first impressions. This is the Texas Gun Vault 2. And that implies there's a Texas Gun Vault 1, otherwise known as the Texas Gun Vault. And if you're interested in my real, full-fledged out, properly filmed reviews, go check that out. There's a link in the description below. This is just a channel where I come and talk to my biggest fans about what I experienced at the range with various firearms that are in certain stages of having those videos produced. And in my last first impressions video, I talked about this bad boy, the Knights Armament LPR. I think it's the LPR, SR-15 E3 LPR Mod 2. That's what this is. It's designed as a precision rifle, 18-inch barrel, and in my first impressions video, I talked about how I tried to do a thorough review where I first reviewed this as a defensive carbine because some people might just want a Knights Armament as a defensive carbine, and it works okay. But at that time, I said, I can tell this gun really shines as a precision rifle. And so I was able to get this thing to the range and film the footage at, and I know it's only out to 100 yards, guys. It's the only range I have available to me, okay? If somebody wants to help me get some land or tell me where I can go, where I can film more content that's not too far away from here, I'm more than happy to do that, but 100 yards is what I get, okay? And at 25, 50, 75, and 100 yards, this thing is absolutely amazing. This might now be my favorite Knights Armament rifle. It is amazing how accurate this firearm is, especially with the ammunition which I was using, and I believe it's just a match made in heaven. And with this zero compromise scope, man, this gun is so much fun to shoot. And this suppressor works okay, but I talked about that in my last first impressions video. It's Knights Armament, one of their older designs. Doesn't really suppress that great, but this is a go-to-war suppressor. But the gun itself, absolutely amazing, and yeah, it's awesome. It really is. I think this firearm in the accuracy department outshines a lot of other things I have had the opportunity to shoot and review. So the Knights Armament LPR, unfortunately a discontinued firearm, but it is absolutely awesome and amazing, and that is just a beautiful rifle there, just trying to get it all into focus and on camera. That is awesome. Take a look at that. Yeah. What a great rifle. Okay, let's put this down over here. That's the first impressions. Make sure I don't block the camera at all. All right. Now, this next one I'm kind of geeking out about, okay? Because you guys know I love anything historical, and I love firearms that potentially have military, history and provenance to it. So I returned a few guns to Jack number 1, and he's always picking up stuff when he can find a good deal. And I guess wherever he goes, his local gun shop or whatever, he goes in there and he finds cool stuff, and he knows the owners, and he like wheels and deals and gets amazing stuff. And he says, hey, I got something cool for you to try out. It's a revolver. And you guys know, well, I do love revolvers. I don't shoot them as good. I fully admit it. I'm a semi-auto guy, and I don't think there's any shame to that, okay? It's funny. I think the revolver shooters make fun of me and go, you're obviously not a revolver shooter. It's like, no, I tell you that in the review. But they act all snobbish and elite. But then I know if you put semi-autos in their hands, they're not as good. So the street really goes both directions, but they act like it only goes one. But he showed me this. And this is a gun I'm going to have to do some research on. So it is a Smith & Wesson. And as you can tell from the lack of an underlug, and we have the exposed ejector rod, this barrel design This is obviously an old revolver, but it looks brand new. It has a Parkerized finish to it. It has some of the older markings. It doesn't have any of the modern stuff. And it, to me, as I said, the model number is not in the usual place. I don't even think it has a model number. I'm going to take off these grips in just a moment, which I do not believe are original. My gut tells me this is a military contract revolver. It is chambered in 45 ACP. So we do have to use the moon clips for this one. I don't know. I know that they made a couple of military revolvers. Don't quote me on this. What is it? The M1918, I think it was. Essentially, it was like for military personnel that didn't need a 1911, and maybe they weren't keeping up with 1911 production during the wars and the interwar period between World War I and World War II. I know there were quite a few of them made, but this one is in pristine condition, Parkerized finish. And it does have, actually on this side it says Smith & Wesson DA45 is what it says. So let me see if I can show you the markings on this. Maybe if I get my head out of the way. There is the marking on the barrel right here. Okay. On this side, we have kind of like the old Smith & Wesson font. Okay. We do have a Smith & Wesson logo right here. The serial number is, I'm not going to tell you the full serial number, but I'll say it's a 5-digit serial number and it begins with 31. So if anybody can help me with that. But then the thing that's going to help us the most is there is a marking on this side over here. And it's partially covered up by the grips. Oh, by the way, there's also the original lanyard loop with this. This also tells me this was part of a military contract. But this has a logo on it. Now, Jack has not taken off the grips yet. He says he thinks it's Brazil, which I don't know. I can't really read anything on it, but I thought we would take off the grips and actually see what is underneath this and see if we can figure this out. But I think this is a really cool revolver. And I told him, I said, you know, being in such good shape, and if this really is kind of a cool historical revolver, you need to find some like vintage grips. I'm not really sure what frame this would be. Maybe the in frame, I think. So let's see what that logo is. And he got an amazing deal on this. This, especially if it is a military contract revolver, is something that really interests me and I would love to have in my collection one day. Because it's just the kind of geeky collector that I am. And I'm trying to use this really tiny small screwdriver here. And let's see if we can get this off. Come on. Don't know how these come off. They're almost there. Okay, so they pull apart. Yeah, it's not in there anymore. Let me see if I can... I gotta get a punch real fast. See if I can push that screw all the way through. Yeah, there it goes. Okay. Screw out. And it's a one-piece grip. Okay, here we go. And what in the heck is this? All right, it says 1937 on it, and my eyes are getting old. I'm going to have to take a picture of this and kind of blow it up a little bit, but let me show you what the marking looks like. If anybody recognizes this, and man, that is not coming across. I tell you, okay, there it is, right there. Does anybody recognize that? It might not be a good picture. I think I'll probably take a close-up picture of it, and if I can't figure it out, I will post it over this video. So that is some type of mark, and it says 1937, but I don't know if that's going to be the date of manufacture or if that corresponds to like the logo and the country that this went to. It's a star. I don't know. But that's really interesting. We do have a little bit of, I don't know if that's corrosion or not. I don't think it is. Maybe it's just part of the manufacturing process. But here on the frame, we do have a little bit of what looks like it would have been like pitting, but that just could be because I didn't finish it the same way. as I did the part that's exposed because it's all underneath the grips. But the finish over it is solid. So there's the markings again. So if anybody knows anything about this revolver, or at least the direction that I need to go in to find out more about it, I would love to know. It obviously is an old one too. It has the firing pin on the hammer. It feels like a solid gun. And of course we got the moon clips in there and the lanyard loop. So yeah, this is going to be a cool one. I don't think I've ever shot a 45 ACP revolver or ever reviewed one. So this is cool. And personally, I love the look of old revolvers with the exposed ejector rod, this type of barrel. And on the top here, it does say Smith & Wesson, Springfield, Massachusetts. And this one has the patent dates as February the 5th. Man, my eyes are getting bad. I don't know. I'll tell you what, I will put in all of the, 06. So I guess that would be right. So 1906 and 1914 are the patent dates. Yeah, December the 29th, 1914. I don't know. I will put in all that information, as I said, and I'll show you all that. So if anybody can give me any information on that, that would be awesome. So this seems to be something really cool. All right, so that is the upcoming projects and first impressions. So now let's get on to the next topic that I want to discuss. Now, you all know that I am into watches, okay? I got into watches, a lot of it because of my friend Richard. He was the guy I mentioned in the beginning of this video. But it was something that I was always kind of interested in. I always wanted, when I was younger, to one day have a Rolex. Now I have many, but I always wanted to have one. And he was kind of the impetus for me to go, you know what, I need to start this journey into horology. And so I have picked up quite a few watches as of late. And sometimes when other content creators make videos about watches, of course, I'm very interested to see what they have to say. Now, there are two videos that come to mind recently that got me thinking maybe I should make my own video. And I was trying to think about what perspective I would want to make it from. And of course, I want it to be about shooting specifically. And are there certain timepieces that are better for shooting, or what would I recommend for shooting and the shooting sports? So I got to thinking about price, functionality, what does the timepiece need to do, or what do you need it to do? Of course, quality and durability, and then luxury versus practicality, because everyone's at a different stage. Some people are not going to want a high-end luxury watch. Some people will. Some people think that the durability of certain brands is important, or the reputation that they have. A watch is just like a gun in many ways. It's a symbol, and when you wear a certain watch, it can make you feel a certain way. Now, I understand that some people don't care at all about watches, just like they don't care about guns. But what I mean by that is they like guns, but they look at guns as tools. So anytime I have people in the comment section say, a gun's a tool, I don't care about the way it looks like, usually that's because I criticize the way a gun looks. I'm like, well, I don't want to drive a car that I don't like the way it looks. I don't want to own a gun that I don't like the way it looks. Sure, it could work fantastic, but for me, it's the blending of functionality and art and beauty. I want a gun that I can take out of the safe, look at, admire, appreciate its quality, appreciate its aesthetics, but also love the way that it functions. I want it all to be melded together, but some people don't, okay? So watches are the same way. But for me, wearing a certain watch makes me feel a certain way. Sometimes it can make me feel accomplished. Sometimes it can make me feel practical. Sometimes it can make me feel tactical. It's just kind of part of your personality, your personal EDC, and your personal style. And the watch somebody wears can say a lot about them. And that's really cool. And just like guns, I know a lot of people think I'm a gun snob, because I shoot these amazing high-end guns like this Armament, or lately like the Infinity, 2011s, Kappa guns, 2011s and things. I appreciate cheap guns as much as I do expensive guns. And I love learning about all of them. So there's watches that I personally have that are very, very cheap. I mean, very cheap. But I end up absolutely loving, and they do get a lot of wrist time. Now, obviously, I do treasure the more expensive ones more, but it doesn't mean I don't appreciate, enjoy, or don't wear cheap ones and can't, find a place on my wrist throughout my week with them. So I brought out some of the watches of my collection that have different types of functionalities to them. So I have some questions for you as I'm trying to figure out the video, the style of video, and how I want to make it, because I want it to be shooting oriented, not just to show off a watch. I don't want it to be a watch review. I want it to be how this watch makes me feel, how it helps my shooting, or is it a good watch that is good for shooting? So 2 video references that, if you're interested and want to go check out. One was Coleon Noir recently reviewed a Tudor Pelagos, which is like their diving watch. Essentially, the Pelagos is like the Tudor's version of the Rolex Submariner. Okay, it's at a lower price point, but Tudor is owned by Rolex. Okay, so you're talking about a watch that's probably $4,000, somewhere in that range. And then Nut and Fancy recently did a review. I don't remember what watch it was. Was it a Seiko or something of that nature? I don't remember. I think it was a Seiko. And it was also a diver's watch. And he was talking about its functionality and its durability. Now, when it comes to the high-end luxury brands like a Tudor, they are sports watches and they're tool watches. Luxury brands like Rolex make tool and sports watches. And Rolex specifically is known for their durability and being able to be used under pressure, not just atmospheric pressure like a diving watch, but, golfers use them, and your wrists can reach up to like 9 Gs or 10 Gs when you're swinging a golf club or playing tennis, and these watches are getting moved around all the time. You have watches that are designed to go to extreme depths under the ocean, with helium escape valves and that kind of stuff that none of us would probably ever need or find practical. But these are considered to be very durable mechanical watches. And then on the other end, we have, the quartz watches. So if you care about watches, okay, what type of watch do you think is the most practical? So let's see here. I almost thought about making a poll about this. We have smart watches, okay, like Apple watches, Samsung watches, and I own one of those, and I think those are great for exercise. And like when I go out bike riding and things, they're great for tracking my heart rate and how many calories I'm burning and counting my steps and things. But as a shooting watch, what does it help me? As a sports watch for shooting, does it help me at anything? It's durable. I don't worry about it breaking under the recoil of a gun. And it's moderately expensive. You're dealing with a smart watch probably in the $400 range, $350 range. So we have smartwatches. We have quartz watches. So for example, anything that takes like a battery, you have your Casio G-Shocks all the way down to your Timexes, to your Citizens, whatever. You have and some of those can be really nice, by the way. You have, even though they're not mechanical, I gravitate generally towards enjoying mechanical watches because I think there's more artistry that goes into them. I will fully admit that quartz watches probably keep better time, and some of them are probably more durable in the long run. But then we have, I'm sorry. I need to keep my thing straight. So we have smart watches, we have tool watches / sports watches, and then like luxury watches. So do you want a watch that just tells time? So if you just take a watch to the gun range, does the only function you care about is, does it keep time? Okay? Or do you want something, or do you want it to do something else? And if it has more functionality, which one of the features would you use the most? So for example, a dive watch. So right now I'm wearing my Rolex green bezeled Submariner. This is a 2022. Some people call this the Starbucks. Some people call it the Kermit or the Cermet because it's a ceramic bezel. And this is my absolute favorite watch. This is the peak of my collection right here. But it has a bezel that turns, and because it's a diving watch, it has a date function. You can rotate the bezel, and essentially you can, set it for, 15 minutes. You can watch the second hand, it's not the second hand, the minute hand go by. You know how much time has elapsed since you set the bezel. So does that have any functionality in shooting? But you don't have to have a Rolex Submariner, which some people are going to say is the top of the line. And if you go shooting a lot, some people beat the hell out of their Rolexes because they just wear them as everyday watches. They don't look at them as luxury. They look at them as tools, and they know how durable these are, and they just last. They just do. Rolexes can be, run over by a car and virtually destroyed, and they're still worth thousands and thousands of dollars, and people will restore them and fix them. So you don't have to go with a $14,000 watch. You can go with something a little bit cheaper. And then if you wear watches, what do you prefer? Do you prefer bracelets like this? Do you prefer straps like a NATO strap? Or do you prefer bands like a leather band or some type of different combination? So which one is more practical for you? So let me show you some of the watches I brought out. So we have divers watches. So let's start with those. I also have, this is a 2000 Rolex Submariner date. This has a ceramic bezel, but as you can see, I have changed the bracelet out. I have the original bracelet, but I used a NATO strap, and this is one that I have kind of set up as an homage to the old James Bond Submariner from the movie Goldfinger. Now, he had a much earlier reference, but he had a RAF strap, which had these same colors. So I kind of consider this like a modern version of the James Bond Rolex Submariner. And this is also a diving watch. Okay, so tells the date, and I can follow 5 minutes, 10 minutes, which actually for me is good because when I do my suppressor reviews, I set my diver's watch, I move the bezel for 5 minutes from whenever I started, so I know how long to film and measure the heat of a suppressor. But when it comes to the strap, I will tell you, I prefer NATO straps over bracelets. Whether it becomes hot, you begin to sweat a little bit. These are definitely more comfortable and I think applicable to shooting. And I also don't have to worry about swelling up. You guys know when you get hot, you can kind of swell up a little bit. This, while I can adjust, it can get a little bit tight, okay? This one is much easier to adjust. It feels comfortable. It's less intrusive on my wrist. And so I find this is a lot more comfortable to wear. But it's not going to have the same appeal as the bracelet. Then next up, we would have, I also have, speaking of more affordable options, I think I have more dive watches than anything else. This is my Seiko, I think they call it the Turtle. I forgot the exact reference on this, but this is a diver's watch, has the same functionality as the Rolex. This one's a $14,000 watch. This is about a $10,000 one here. This one is a $300 watch, and I absolutely love it. It's just a little bit on the big side, but it works great. It tells the date and the day of the week on it, but it has the same functionality, and it is on a bracelet. But this one I cannot adjust as easy. I also have, one of my favorite brands is a brand called Steinhardt. They're based, I guess, in Germany, but they use Swiss movements. And they have some really cool designs. These are going to be in the $500 to $600 range. This is a military-influenced diver's watch. You can see the camo dial on it. Has the Mercedes hands, but I also put it onto a NATO strap. This, I think, is a fantastic watch as well. Has the same functionality as all the other watches I've shown you, has a date on it. So we have that. We also have a custom watch, and this is a company called Tiger Concepts that my friend Richard turned me on to, based in Hong Kong. And I had them do me a Rolex homage if they had ever made a green bezeled aluminum watch back in like the 70s. So this is like an old style big crown with no crown guards. But all these are divers watches, and as you can see, I have it on a NATO strap as well. And this is a great watch to wear too. So we have the divers watches, okay? And I find those are pretty good for shooting because as I said, you have your time, but if you don't need any other functionality, and they all typically are pretty durable. But then we have watches like this one. This is my Hamilton chronograph. I believe this is called the Jazzmaster chronograph. This one is a black face. This is about a, I should probably tell you the prices on these. This right here is probably a $300 watch, the Tiger Concepts. The Steinhardt, as I said, $600 or $700 on this one, so we can see the price differences. But they all seem to be pretty durable and work and hold good time. This is a $2,000 Hamilton chronograph. Now, if you're shooting, do you really want a chronograph? So I can use it for tracking time. You know, as time goes by, I just have to pay attention to it. It's not going to count down. It's going to count up. But this is more for racing. And as you can see, I actually took off the metal bracelet and put on a NATO strap on this one, which I think kind of makes it look a little bit racing inspired. But I love the way this watch looks. It definitely has the Rolex Daytona kind of thing to it. It has a exhibition case back, but you can't see it with a NATO strap. So would you use a chronograph for shooting? And what advantages would that give you? Would you ever use it for, like, shooting drills? Does that make any sense? Like, if you're timing somebody, would you use the chronograph function? Or would you prefer the diver's watch rotating bezel kind of function? And then there's, of course, GMT watches, which we have here, which this is another Steinhardt. I put this one on a rubber band. And this one can just tell you the 24-hour... This one essentially tracks 3 time zones. So I don't think this one has as much functionality on the range as the other watches. But this one tells good time. So if you only care about time, I mean, is this something that would interest you to have the multiple time zones? This one has a titanium case to it. Yeah, this one's pretty cool. I'm not always the biggest fan of the gold, accents and gold watches, but this has just enough where it doesn't bother me too much. This is also about a $600 watch right here. Steinhardt, great company. But I think what I'm getting to here at the end is I think I found the perfect range watch for me, okay? And this is where I also want your input. I picked this one up for $250, but based off of what it is and its functionality, I think as a tool watch, as a sports watch, and as a shooting watch, it blows everything else out of the water. I recently picked up the Casio G-Shock Gravity Master, and this one has the gray and blue colorway to it. This is actually supposed to be an aviation watch, but being a G-Shock, it is supposed to be able to take quite a bit of abuse and still keep good time. It is a quartz watch, so it has, and also I like this one because it doesn't have any of the analogs, any of the digital stuff. I don't like the G-Shocks that have the digital stuff. This is strictly an analog watch. It has a stopwatch function. It has a timer function, so that second hand can go in the opposite direction as well. It tells the date. It tracks a second time zone. But it has this really durable, very light, rubber band to it. It's easily adjustable, so if it's hot or I get sweaty when I'm shooting, I can adjust it. And because it's a G-Shock, I don't worry about it having to deal with the recoil of any firearm. So sometimes I worry about, with the Rolexes, although they are designed for it, I don't want that shock damaging the watch. This watch is designed for that. It has a mineral crystal instead of a sapphire crystal. So the sapphire crystals are harder, they won't scratch, but the mineral crystal has more bend to it and it won't shatter like the sapphire crystal will. So in some ways, I think this is a better watch for shooting because you don't have to worry about that shattering. If a casing hit it and something strikes the crystal, it might scratch, but it's not going to shatter or break. It has a little bit more give to it. On the hardness scale, sapphire is like a 9. I want to say the mineral crystals can be anywhere between 5.5 to 7. So quite less in the hardness, but you get the advantages that it bends and it can take a shock a little bit better without shattering. And this watch is also really light. So yeah, this is pretty darn awesome. I am so happy with this purchase. And I think from now on, this is going to be my range watch. So even though I have tons of other options, this thing's pretty awesome. Also, you can connect it to your smartphone. It can connect via Bluetooth. So you can set the time manually or over your phone. But if you don't have a phone, or in the future we don't use Bluetooth anymore, you can still set this thing manually. It's not, a problem. And it's also solar powered. So yes, it's a quartz. Yes, it is battery powered, but it's solar powered. And the battery is not supposed to have to be changed for like 10 or 15 years, if that. So this watch is supposed to go on forever. For like $250. So what kind of watch functionality do you want? Would you use at the range if you wear a watch? Smartwatch, a watch like this, GMT, divers, or chronograph? Do you prefer bracelets, bands, straps? Do you care about price for any reason? Do you think price matters in watches? Just like in guns, where's the law of diminishing returns come into play? And yeah, so I'm thinking about making a video, I said, about watches, talk about how they use it, and then I think I'm going to make the conclusion that this is the perfect shooting watch. Perfect price, great functionality, extremely durable, very light, and it is G-Shock resistant, I guess, for shooting. So anyway, long video. So if you're a watch person, tell me your thoughts, how I should structure the video, and any ideas on any of the questions I asked. So tell me in the comment section below about anything we talked about today. We got the cool old revolver from Smith & Wesson. We got the Knight's Armament, LRP, and watches. So, there is one more thing if you watch to the end of the video. I can't use the name. You guys know that sometimes I can't put things in titles or descriptions because the companies will find out before they're being released. But everyone's favorite flashlight slash sight company, and maybe it's already been released. I think it's later this month. Maybe not. They're coming out with a new sight. And this one, I think they listened to me. Well, probably not me, but other people. This one has a removable battery. So it's supposed to be a little bit different than the one that has the little charging cap on it. So I can't use the brand's name, and it has the smaller RMSC footprint. So I was able to pick up the SIG 365 from my friend Jack to review it on. So yeah, so that's all the stuff. So that's what's going on here at Texas Gun Vault. So thanks for watching to the end of this extremely long video. I'm excited to see what you guys have to say. So if you watch to the end of this video, the word of the day is going to be review. Review is the word of the day because I got to review this site, and it's unrelated to the other things that I talked about earlier. So you can't guess the word of the day, so I know who truly watched to the end. So anyway, let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. And as always, thanks for watching.